As I mentioned in the previous lesson, the easiest way to make a custom forming tool is to modify one that already exists. In case you don't find one close to what you need, let's take a look at creating one from scratch. As we create the forming tool, keep in mind that the minimum radius of curvature used in the forming tool must be greater than the thickness of the sheet metal part it's being applied to. This will prevent sharp corners from appearing after a forming tool is used. Here, I have a new part. I'll begin by creating a block on the top plane to use as a base. Using a base like this will enable me to create fillets that will show up in the sheet metal part, as we'll see a bit later. Now that I have a base, I'll create the geometry that will define the forming tool. For this example, I'll be using a slot. I'll begin my sketch here on the face of the block. To quickly create the slot shape, I'll sketch a line and use the Offset Sketch tool. I'll enable the Bidirectional, Make Base Construction, and Cap Ends with Arcs options. Then extrude the sketch to give this forming tool depth. Notice the sharp edges. These would cause trouble when punched into the sheet metal, so I'll round them out using fillets. Remember that the minimum radius of curvature of the forming tool must be greater than the thickness of the sheet metal part you intend to use it on. So if I'm going to use this on a sheet metal part that's 60 thousandths thick, I need to make sure that my fillet radius is greater than 60 thousandths. Once the fillets are in place, you can get rid of the base feature if you wish. By doing so, you can simplify the forming tool and make it easier to identify when you use it later. Before I cut away the block, notice that it would be impossible to create this fillet without the use of the base. That's why it was created in the first place. An easy way of cutting away the base material is to start a sketch on this face and use the Convert Entities sketch tool. I'll create a through-all cut, and all material below the fillet will be completely removed. In addition to stamping this shape into the sheet metal part, I also want this forming tool to create a round hole. In order to do this, I have to color a round face red. Unfortunately, I don't have a round face to color, so I'll have to create it. To create the round face, I'll have to use the split line feature. I'll start a sketch and create the shape I need, a simple circle. Next, I'll activate the split line command from the Insert Curve drop-down menu. I'll select the face to split, when I click OK, a new round face has been created. Now keep in mind that split line doesn't create a cut. It simply separates a face so you can do things like apply a color, which is what I need to do here. Now that the geometry of the forming tool is complete, I can use the Form Tool feature to define the remaining parameters of the forming tool. I'll select the bottom flat face as the stopping face, the round face as the face to be removed, and click OK. Notice the orientation sketch was automatically created. To be able to use this new forming tool, we now have to put it into our design library. The easiest way to do this is to drag the file into the forming tools folder. Be sure to use the push pin to keep the task pane open. All you have to do is give it a name. Now that the tool is complete, I can test it on a sheet metal part. I'll drag it from the design library and drop it onto the face of the part. This is where the positioning sketch is useful. I can dimension to it, create relations, whatever is necessary to locate the forming tool. I'll click Finish, and the forming tool is applied.